everyone, my name is Nicole Prust and I am the author of The Sloth and the Dinglewot, which is illustrated by Amanda Enright. I would have been speaking to you all in person. This is a really strange way of doing things, but I hope I do get the message of the book across to you. This is a book about a sloth called Samuel, and he lives in his little brown hut in the lazy lagoon, and Samuel really wants to explore the world, but he has always stayed in his safety zone. So even though he has these dreams, he just lacks that little bit of confidence to finally step out of his comfort zone. Along comes the Dinglewot, and the Dinglewot encourages the sloth to step out, and he says, well, maybe you'll like it or maybe you won't, but if you don't try it, then how will you know? And that is something that I try to live by as well. It is easier said than done. There are definitely times in my life where I've been really nervous to do something, and then comes along a friend or a role model or a teacher who just gives you that boost, who gives you that encouragement to try something new. I am going to do my absolute best with this video, but I really wanted to read you the first few pages of the book and show you some of the illustrations by Amanda, because they really brought the whole story to life. So I'd love to show you those. What I will do is I will read you the first few pages that lead up to the point where Samuel is about to step out of his comfort zone. So now, one of the things that I absolutely loved when I first saw the book with all the illustrations completed was these end pages. I think that's the right word, but I just love them because when I wrote the story, I could imagine it all happening in my head, and the first thing that I wrote about was the lazy lagoon, and I imagined all of these sloths just snoozing, sleeping peacefully in their branches. I imagined what it would look like, and Amanda just captured it perfectly. So this is not even the start of the book, but I just love these. I love these pictures. So, down near the banks of the lazy lagoon, where the trees slowly swayed in the light of the moon, a family of sloths sat soundly asleep as the birds of the sunrise started to cheep. They raised their arms and stretched with a yawn. They huddled and snuggled as night turned to dawn. Some grumbled and groaned in their little brown hut. Some peeped at the sun and then closed their eyes shut. Now, these are the illustrations on this page. And the other thing I loved about this was every time I looked at the book once I had received my own copy, I kept on spotting different animals hidden like in the undergrowth, which I just thought was really nice. It was a really nice touch. I kept on spotting, I think I saw a frog, there's a little bug, there were some birds. Yeah. But Samuel the Sloth had had more than enough. Keeping still and quiet all day was too tough. He yearned for adventure, he yearned to explore. The sloths found him strange because he wanted more. We like to relax in the warmth of the sun. Samuel, how can you think this is not fun? Outside the lagoon, it's scary, Samuel heard. To leave our cozy home is completely absurd. Turn page. But that drowsy morning in the summer heat, Samuel dropped his blanket and jumped to his feet. He snuck up a tree past the sloths as they snored. There's so much of the world he hadn't explored. Just as the sloth climbed his way to the top, something so strange made him suddenly stop. It darted and dashed from tree to tree. It was the funniest thing he ever did see. And this is the first image that we see of the Dinglewot. It dingled, it jingled, its soft feathers were bright. It had bells on its feet and eyes dark as the night. Oh, hello, little fellow, how do you do? I'm okay, said Samuel, but who are you? I'm the Dinglewot, Dingle-Dum-Dee. If you want an adventure, then please come with me. There's a jungle appointment that we must attend. Let's hurry, we're meeting with a furry old friend. This has to be, I love all the illustrations throughout the book, but this has to be one of the most special for me because it's the part of the story where the magic starts to happen. Samuel sees this magical creature, this colourful bird, and it's the start of his adventure. And he doesn't know what he's going to do or who he's going to meet, but it really is kind of like the part in the story where it all begins. So I really love this this page. It's one of my favourites. I've been handed a few questions to answer, so I will do my best with these. The first one is, what did you like reading when you were a child? A few things immediately pop into my mind. The series of books that I actually adored, not even loved, adored, was the series of Unfortunate Events by Lemony Snicket, and it was this series of books which, as a child, it was kind of like, it wasn't the magical happy ending sort of story that I had been used to reading for a long time. It was a darker, more mysterious kind of, I remember the first one, it was darker, mysterious, it really made you want to read on, and you kind of get really invested into the lives of the three children. I love the Harry Potter books, still do. I remember I started reading them when I was about 11, and this was, I think, this was when the films started to come out. So it was that extra excitement surrounding Harry Potter, the films, and reading the books. I just adored them, loved them, and still watch the films. I listen to the audiobooks now, so yeah, I'm a bit of a Harry Potter fan. And when I was really little, I loved Alice in Wonderland. That was one of my favourites, but also Cat in the Hat by Dr. Seuss, and it was the rhyming and how fun it was. And I never kind of thought about it this way, but I used to read those books all the time, and I absolutely loved the rhyme. And I wonder whether that's kind of where my love for rhyme started. I can't even remember. But when I started to write The Sloth and the Dinglewot, there was no question about it. It was always going to be a rhyme. The next question is, where do you get your ideas for writing your books? I would definitely say for this one, this is based on personal experience of remembering kind of times when I was a child, feeling fearful about trying something and just sticking to what I knew. And then remembering the friends or the role models or the teachers that kind of stepped in as a Dinglewot and kind of pulled me out of that comfort zone. And afterwards, I still remember thinking, oh, I actually really enjoyed that. And I would never have known that I enjoyed it unless I tried it. But of course, there will be things that you are encouraged to try, and then you try it and it's just not for you. But I think that's where, that is where the Dinglewot's motto, maybe you'll like it or maybe you won't, but if you don't try it, then how will you know, comes in. I am writing, I'm always writing, but I am in particular writing I have two new ideas, and they are based on things that I have seen, nature documentaries as well. For some reason, they're really inspiring to me, in terms of finding things to write about and things that I'm really passionate about as well. So yeah, ideas kind of come from all over the place. The question is a really sweet question. It is, if you were a character in Winnie the Pooh, which one would you be and why? I haven't actually watched Winnie the Pooh in so long, since I was a little girl. But I used to love it. I really used to love it, and I used to love reading the books as well. I would maybe Piglet, I think. Piglet can be quite shy to begin with. When Piglet is surrounded by his friends, especially Winnie the Pooh, you do see Piglet come out of his shell, and I definitely feel more confident when I have, those comforting friends around you. And yeah, almost like Samuel in a way. He conquers fears and he tries to be brave, but it sometimes doesn't come naturally, and that is the same with all of us. We all have moments where we don't feel brave. But yeah, I don't know why. There are definitely parts of each character that I can relate to. Absolutely. But yeah, I'll go with Piglet. So then we have, how long does it take to write your books? Now, for this one, I had the idea and it took me about a couple of weeks to write the whole thing, and it was a lot longer originally, and then when we went through the editing process, I had to cut it down, but it took, and I don't know how long it takes other people to write their books. Sometimes I don't know whether this may seem really quick or whether it will seem really long, but for me, the idea came to me and I just couldn't stop writing. So I would come home after work and I would just write for hours, and I would never be tired. I loved it. I really enjoyed it. And I kind of wouldn't set aside a piece of time each week to do it. I would just feel like I wanted to write, and I would just write for hours, sometimes until after midnight. That sounds crazy, but I just kind of got into the flow of it, and that just worked for me. So it didn't take, well, I don't know, but it took a couple of weeks to get everything down. Then the editing process took a lot longer, because it had to be cut down, and things, we tweaked rhymes, tweaked the verses, and chopped and changed. So but the initial just kind of me writing everything down, it took a couple of weeks, but I wrote for hours each day. Where do you write your books? Do you have a special place for this? do you use special pens? As a primary school teacher, I don't know whether it's just me, but I feel like every other primary school teacher I've met has an obsession with stationery. So I definitely am a collector and hoarder of all kinds of pens. But I actually would either type or type on the computer or on my phone. I don't think I drew pictures of the characters just at the beginning when I was doing this, and thinking of the Dinglewot. But I used to write on my laptop, and I just found that easier because I would find that if I was writing, my thoughts were kind of arriving much quicker than I could write. So with typing, I just felt I could get out my ideas faster, and if I made a mistake, I could just, erase it. Yeah, I used to write all over the place. I started writing. I remember having the idea for this book while I was sitting on the couch in my parents' kitchen. The title came to me there, and then I used to write a lot in my bedroom in my parents' house. I used to write a lot in my flat, and when I was out, it would often be if I'm sitting on a train, or I'm waiting for a train, or I'm just waiting for a friend and I'm just on my own, I would get an idea, and it usually was like 2 rhyming words, or it was just 2 lines, or a phrase that I really wanted to put into a verse, and I just jot it down and kind of work with it, and then I'd come home and I'd add it to the document that I had on my laptop. But yeah, there was no kind of special place that I would write. Mostly in my home, which I guess is a special place for me. My parents' house or a flat. I guess that's kind of when I'd come back from work, or on a weekend. How important are the illustrations in your stories? The illustrations to me are everything. When I write, I imagine everything happening as if it's like a movie playing in my mind. So when I was writing about the lazy lagoon, when I was writing about the bats in the cave, or Dinglewotville, I could imagine it all the colours, all the activity. And so the illustrations, when I had it written on a Word document, when I was reading it, I was imagining all of these events happening, playing out as if it was a little movie, as I said before. So when I think the first illustration I saw from Amanda was Samuel, and I was so excited to see Samuel the Sloth as a drawing that was going to be in the book. I fell in love with him straight away, and yeah, when I saw the finished book, I was just blown away. I think the way Amanda made it come to life, it was everything. She really captured each moment, each scene in the book is such a colourful way, it's such a magical way, and I think through the illustrations you can see this relationship between the sloth and the Dinglewot. When I look at it, I know I look at it and I see that it's special, and she really made that bond between them special through her drawing. So yeah, I think she did the most amazing job. And one of the pictures that I love the most, as well as before I showed you the page where the sloth and the Dinglewot first make that eye contact, and first kind of you see that bond being made. I really love these pages, because it's kind of where Samuel has conquered his fears. He did it. He made it, and he's now just enjoying. The fear is gone, and he's just in this one. He's kind of just carefree, and you can just see it. See how carefree he is with the Dinglewot dancing around the bonfire. And then here it's a moment of reflection, I think, with the Dinglewot. And yeah, I think she captured those moments so beautifully.